Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. This week, I'm talking to Jo from Flourish. Jo is a counselor in England, and her channel Flourish on YouTube speaks specifically to therapy with children and with teens. So welcome, Jo. Thank you for being here with us. We're going to talk to each other, just get to know each other, let you get to know us. Here we go.
So Kelly, my first question to you is, why did you become a counsellor?
That's such a good question. When I was working in youth ministry many, many years ago, people who subscribe to my channel know that I worked in youth ministry as a youth pastor in churches. And I began to realize that I didn't have the skills to help the students that were in the ministry with me. I didn't have the skills to help one of the girls who was struggling with an eating disorder and just the different things they were going through. I didn't have it. So I went to school to finish my degree and then go to grad school in order to have the skill set, not intending to actually become a therapist. And then life changed, circumstances changed, the denomination I was working in changed. I got to a different stage of my life where I was a lot tired of hiding my relationship with my wife, because I did a lot of that for a lot of years. The denomination moved in a way that became less safe emotionally and job security wise for me to be in my position in general. Came up against a lot of resistance in trying to be affirming and trying to be inclusive to especially trans teens. And I realized that I was going to have to go the route of getting licensed so that I could have another option, because I had done nothing besides youth ministry since I graduated high school. And then, well, here I am now, and I can't imagine not having taken that path. But it was, again, never with the intention of actually getting licensed. All right. So, Jo, tell us, what do you enjoy most about your job?
I knew you'd go with some tricky ones. So for me, I work as a mental health trainer with supporting adults and parents and carers about the mental health of children and young people. I work in schools, so I work with a lot of staff. But I think the most important thing that I love about my job would be actually working with the young people, with the children, with the young adults, because I think that it's so important that they have, that they just feel heard. And I think that above everything that I do, that for me is my number one priority, is actually the counselling and the one-to-ones or the kind time with the children and the young people themselves. So question number 2, what do you enjoy most about your job?
Oh, that is tricky because my two jobs are so different. I work full time as a mental health counselor in the schools, and a lot of my time is spent with just some really awesome kids that I have great relationships with, and I really enjoy being a person in their lives that is somebody they can talk to. But I don't see them long term. I see them at most 6 sessions, and then we either refer out or they kind of go back to trying their own coping skills. With private practice, I love the relationships you get to build. I also kind of love getting a new client. I also love when a client's like, I'm ready to do this on my own, you know. I think ultimately what it comes down to, the thread through all of that, is being able to be part of someone else's story, small, big part, I don't really care, but being involved in someone else's story and getting to see life through their eyes is just so cool. Okay, question number 2 is maybe more for me than for anybody else. But what was the process like becoming a counselor in England? Now, I want to put a caveat in here. Anybody who knows me in real life knows that's like a dream of mine. Is my wife and I just moved to Scotland, and my grandmother's from there. We've been there to see the history and everything, and I would love to do it. But I'm always like, how do I be a therapist over there? So this is so great. I want to know what the process was for you.
So I was really, really young when I chose to kind of go on a course for counselling. Here nowadays, you have to go to university, and it was really hard because I was so young, and I really was. I don't like using the word victim, but I really was victim to ageism. Like I was told that I was too young. What would you know? I was 21, and I get that now that I'm in my 30s. I get that, okay, you know, qualifying as a counsellor is so hard, and for me personally, it's as if I kind of had my perfect life, you know, as a 21-year-old. Everything was brilliant, relationships, and then when you become a counsellor, it's like you're grabbing a sledgehammer. You're literally getting that reflection, that mirror, and you're putting it into 1,000 pieces. And over the 4 years, you have to learn to put back that image, that mirror, realizing that the reflection isn't going to be the same. Things in your life aren't the same, people aren't the same. And it was really, really hard. I really wanted to quit. And I had a really good couple of tutors, and I got through it. And then in the UK, we have to have like a counselling profession. So there's different professions out there, and I've just submitted my senior accreditation. So that's good. So it's once you're qualified, then for you to come over to Scotland, be really quite easy. It would be really quite easy, because once you've got the kind of the certificate along with your hours, and then it's the experience, and you know, I've been doing my job for over 10 years now as a qualified counsellor, so it's the experience that speaks volumes. And plus, you're right, for you and your wife, Scotland is beautiful. You should move over here. The weather is not very good up in Scotland, very, very cold, but surely you just get to learn to live life like that.
Right. I'll buy a warm raincoat. Because that's not something we need a lot of here in Florida, but I would buy one.
Oh my gosh, you would so need it. You would, but it's beautiful. It's England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales. It's beautiful. Okay, my third question, Kelly, is why did you start your YouTube channel? Because you've got over 1,000 subscribers now, and this, I believe, is your 100th video.
It is.
So why did you start the channel for you?
Like, I'm beginning to understand so many things in my life. I started for one reason and it becomes something else. I started the channel before the pandemic, and it was a video here, a video there. And the intention was to demystify counseling. Really, people who aren't open to therapy are often not open to it because they don't understand what it is. They're like,
well, I'm not just going to go sit down and tell someone all of my problems and just have them, you know, blame my parent or explain it away
or whatever. And I'm like, well, if a therapist is doing that, we should probably have a conversation about the therapist, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. But also that's not therapy. That's therapy on TV. And so just to make it accessible, my very first video was, what do therapists really think about their clients? That was my first video. And it took me a while to even get up to 100 subscribers. It was really just an attempt to make therapy not such a secret. Well, really, then the pandemic hit, and I realized that I needed to have another way to reach people, because it wasn't possible for people to come into therapy offices. And, you know, not everybody was open to the idea of doing therapy virtually. So I needed to make it accessible in a different way. So I started picking topics and called it Ask a Therapist, and got some really good momentum within the queer community, within religious trauma. There's a lot of intersectionality there, shockingly. And yeah, here we are. All right. So question number 3 for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
In one of your videos, you talked about backpacking. Why did you want to travel, and where did you go?
I had my heart broken. I'm pretty certain that we can all relate to that. And when you're young, it really hurts. And I was 18, 19, I really had my heart broken. And I thought, right, my best friend was due to go traveling, and she wanted to start off in Canada, and she wanted to end up in Thailand. My nanny had just died, so I'd had some inheritance money, and I just thought to myself, right, let's get out of here, you know, let's go and find ourselves. So I managed to travel 9 countries. I started off in Canada, and I ended up in Thailand. And along the way, I met this guy called Phil, and he was really cool. He was from England. We met out in Fiji. And here I am traveling to find myself, you know, to get over boys and have fun. And actually, believe it or not, that's who I'm married to. So I went all that way traveling, and I ended up finding Phil. So, but yeah, it was initially just to try and have some time out of life and to learn who I am. And I ended up having the best time of my entire life. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's amazing. That's such a good story. Definitely one of my favorite how we met stories.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Did y'all travel around together after that, or just sort of like part ways and then?
Yeah, we parted ways. So I met him in Fiji, and then I went to New Zealand. He went back to Australia. And then I thought to myself, do you know what? I'll spend 2 weeks with him in Australia, because I'll get to save money. Why not? So I met back up with him in Australia, and then we parted, and it was because of the tsunami that we met back up in Asia. We met back up in Thailand, and then we did Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos together. And I remember saying goodbye to him when I came home, and he went back up to Sunderland, and my heart hurt, like it really hurt. And I thought, damn, I'm in love.
Yeah, you were.
And that was 17 years ago.
Oh my gosh. That just makes my little romantic heart pitter patter. That's amazing.
So my last question, Kelly, and this is a personal one, and you don't have to answer it, okay? Well, you do kind of have to answer a little bit of it, okay? But in one of your videos, one of your early videos, you said that you'd share your story with us as your subscribers and as your audience once you'd reached 100 subscribers. So obviously we don't have to do that today, but when will that be? How will we know when you're ready to tell your story?
Yeah. So I've been ready in intervals. It has a lot of fairly triggering religious trauma kind of things. It's not, I don't want to make it sound like it's this absolutely terrible thing, but it's real and it's raw, and it involves people who like randomly watch my videos to see if their name appears in it kind of thing. It's a very weird situation. I do get that question a lot. I want people to know me. I also want to think that I can hide behind that therapist exterior and be like, well, it's not about me, it's about you. But also people wouldn't still be asking if they didn't want to know, right? So I can see that coming probably even sometime this summer when I'm not doing school and I have more time to sort of format it the way that I think is the most appropriate. I don't want to burn people, but I also am not going to tell it if I can't tell it honestly. And when I made that statement, I was still under a legal obligation to not tell the story. I'm no longer under that legal obligation. And so now it's probably time for the story, I think.
So it's just a question of when you're ready now.
Yeah, basically. And I do, like, sometimes I'll do videos that are more personal and those videos don't go as far. So then I use that to convince myself, I'm like, oh, we're good. They don't need to hear it. But you know, people are so real in the comments and they're so raw in that stuff. And I feel like meeting them sort of where they've met me is an appropriate next step, but it's a lot to put out there.
It is. And I think that you're right. It's about doing it when the time's right. Yeah. And it's also when we're sharing our story, it's big. You know, this is why I think when people come for counseling, children, young people, adults, like, it's big, and it might seem scary, but sometimes it's just about, you'll know when the time's right. Yeah. And it will feel good. Yeah. It will feel good to share it as well.
Very true.
I love that. I can't wait to kind of find out what your story is.
I'll tag you in it when I do. So my last question for you, Jo, is what do you like most about having a YouTube channel?
The best thing about having a YouTube channel is being able to support children and young people, to support teenagers 24/7. When you're working with them, or when I've got teachers that are supporting them and there might be a safeguarding issue, or they're just worried about them, from a staffing point of view, to be able to say, go and check out the Flourish YouTube channel and see if there's anything there to help you, that's great. I love it because then I'm there for the kids if they need it, as and when. And then I love it for parents because the parents can watch the video. And my videos, they always kind of have the problem, you know, are you addicted to your phone? But then it's about, okay, let's build your self-awareness and then let's do something about it. And I love it because then I hear parents and carers that watch the videos and they manage to kind of make it feel as if when they're in conversation with their child or their children, as if it's their options, you know, have you thought about this? And I just love that because I just feel as if we're managing to support everybody, and that's quite a nice feeling. So yeah, just being accessible, and when somebody might need me, is quite a good feeling.
That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you found this helpful and that you know both of us better. If you have any other questions for Jo or for myself, go ahead and drop that in the comments and we'd love to answer them. I will see you all next week, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other.